Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Bayou Bets, this one for Thursday, January the 26th. Zach Ewing along with Spencer the Guru and Jim Derry on a wonderful afternoon, just 3 days away from the NFL's conference championship games. This show will be almost all about those games, Eagles, 49ers in the NFC, Chiefs, Bengals in the AFC. Max Meyer of Caesars Sportsbook, will be along a little later to tell us about some line movements, some trends, the action report on these games, where the money's coming in. We're going to make our picks at the end of the show. And this is good. I mean, sometimes, guys, you get like an AFC Championship match where the 6 seed makes it through, and you're, well, maybe they can give them a run, but you've got a team that's a 10-point favorite or something. These are, I mean, these 4 teams are among the top 5 teams, I would say, in the NFL.
Yeah, I think so. Last year it was exciting. It was only one of 2 times in NFL history where championship games both were within a field goal. So it'll be tough to top that. But I think the 4 best teams are in there, and it will be fun. Yeah,
I mean, the only other team you could probably argue that's better, Spencer, would be Buffalo. But I mean, Cincinnati solved that problem last week, so they don't have much of an argument.
Not better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and Buffalo, they had been winning a lot down the stretch, but it was kind of, you could see Josh Allen was kind of falling off, wasn't making the best decisions, where, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, top 2 QBs, I'd say, the cream rose at the top.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it, and we'll dig into those. We have a pretty big disagreement on these games, not necessarily on the sides, but on the totals among this group. One in particular is against the other 2 in both totals. So we'll get to that. Let's start with the NFC game. This is the early game, 2:00 Central Time on Sunday. 49ers at the Eagles. Line has been pretty steady, -2.5 for Philly. It's even been -2.5 and juiced to -115 now for several days in a row. The one thing I'll say here, Christian McCaffrey did not practice today for the 2nd consecutive day. If he doesn't practice again tomorrow and gets a questionable tag or something, I think you might see this hit the 3, Jim.
I don't think that has anything to do with anything. He's going to play. I think everybody knows he's going to play. It wouldn't surprise me if it hits 3 anyway, because it's on the fringe. It's like 2.75 right now. So, but I don't think Christian McCaffrey, whether he practices or not, is going to have anything to do with this line. The only thing that would have to do with the line is if, for some reason, if they came out and said that he's not going to play. And that would be very surprising.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, but I will say you'd like to at least see him get a limited practice in tomorrow.
I will say this. I saw that they took his player props off when I went to go look, because I was looking to bet his unders anyway. And I should have bet him this morning when I wanted to, and I didn't, and I was busy. When I came back home this afternoon, they were gone. So you can't bet them right now. At least not on season.
That's what I was about to say, is that those player props are off the board. I mean, again, Spencer, you think if he is going to play, which we all think he is, he at least gets that LP on the injury report tomorrow. He at least gets out there and shakes the legs loose.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking he will, because if not, if he is ruled out, that line is definitely going to move. I think it moves all the way to 3.5.
No way.
I think he's that.
No, if he's
important. He's that important, I feel like.
I'm not saying that wouldn't change. That shouldn't change your mind, but that's not going to move that line. Christian McCaffrey's not going to move that line from 2.5 to 3.5, because that's basically the equivalent of 2 points. When you go through that number, it's not going to move it that much. I know where you're coming from and what you think, and if you want to bet it differently, then bet it differently. But Christian McCaffrey's not going to move that line from 2.5 to 3.5. He just won't. Even if they said he's not playing tomorrow.
At least
number's too
three.
important.
At least 3. Maybe not 3.5, at least 3, though.
I mean, as Jim said, it's already sort of tilted toward the 3. If he's, and again, we all think he's going to play. He was, even as he was limited last week at the end of the game, he was still getting in there for passing down snaps and things like that. So it wasn't like he was totally out. My guess is this is just a rest thing. So at this point, it's something to keep an eye on, put it that way, especially if it does move to 3. Jim, I know you like the 49ers anyway, so if it gets to 3, maybe that's a gift for you.
I've already done all the betting I'm going to bet. I don't, all my money's basically locked up in futures. There's no reason for me to bet this game unless I was going to bet Philly. I have 2 teasers. They both include the Niners. And so I'm getting the Niners at 8.5 and 9. So I'm not going to bet this game straight anyway, even though it is in my best bets. It's only because what I bet earlier in the week isn't. I can't bet it now because the lines are different.
Right. Yeah, it's anyway, it's interesting, and line movement is a big thing. As I said, we'll talk to Max Meyer a little later in the show around 4:30, and he'll give us the lowdown on exactly where that's at and where it might move if Christian McCaffrey's out. Moving to the AFC game, and speaking of line movement, yeah, this is the one that's been all over the place. I want to say at least at some places it opened up Chiefs -3, and that lasted about 20 minutes. And then that was 2.5, and then it was 1.5, and then it was a pick 'em. And then it went all the way to the other side, Bengals -2.5 as of Tuesday. And then that's gotten bet down, and it was a pick 'em overnight, and now it's jumped the fence back the other way, Chiefs -1 at the moment. So I don't know that I've ever recalled a big game like this that's gone over the 0 twice. In the week leading up to the game, and a lot of that is the Patrick Mahomes injury, of course, but still very interesting.
Well, I was going to say I'm sure it's happened before in a regular game, but I mean I've been betting for probably almost 10 years now, and I don't recall either. Not a game this big. Now, the one thing about games like this that are so big, whereas Aunt Mabel and her friends usually wait until Friday, Saturday, even Sunday morning bet. Everybody's betting like throughout the week this week. So that could be part of it. And people react, average Joe reacts as soon as they see something, they bet it one way. As soon as they see something, they might even put another bet in or whatever. I mean, there's so many people betting on this that's kind of changed the line back and forth, but it only takes one big bet to really move a line. And then when Max comes on in a little bit, I'm sure he'll talk about it, but you get one person to bet 75,000 or 100,000, it's going to move a line. So, and I'm guessing that's kind of what happened. We saw Mahomes yesterday at practice, and I think that's, kind of interesting that people are taking that much out of that. Just because he was walking without a limp, he's got his high knee socks on where no one can see what his ankle looks like or anything below his shin, really. So we don't know he might have a purple leg down there, and so we have no idea how much it's going to affect. I mean, we'll talk about what I think the effect's going to be in a little bit.
I will say this: if it was bad, if it was really going to cost him a lot, he wouldn't be out there at all.
That's true.
He wouldn't be out there on a Wednesday if they were really concerned about him being ready. So, to me, that it's good news just that he was out there walking around. Period. For sure. Spencer.
Yeah, no doubt, because I was, it still hadn't swayed me, when we get to our picks. I'm still with the Bengals, but I feel like it make me more confident in having the Chiefs in a teaser, because I was thinking, man, this might end up a blowout, but him looking like he's going to be a full go, I think it's going to be a pretty competitive game there. And speaking of big bets, wait for Mattress Mac. Don't be surprised if he drops $1 million or $2 million on Cincinnati, being that Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, LSU connection.
Oh, please do that. That would be great. That would be swell.
He's been doing it. He did it with the Dallas, TCU, anything like a Southern connection. Like he loves to bet on it.
Well, you've got to he's got to run his mattress promos first and then decide to do it. So we'll see if he jumps in on the action. Nothing yet. My guess is at this point he's going to wait for the Super Bowl. But Bengals-Chiefs -1,
maybe so.
Niners-Eagles -2.5. Want to dig into some player props as well. Max Meyer coming on about 4:30. We're also going to dip our toes into some tennis and golf for a few minutes, and then after Max comes on, we will make our picks. So that's what we got going. Starting with Niners-Eagles, here's some of the yardage player props that you can bet. This is the slide we used from the Fantasy Roundup on Tuesday, updated, of course. And as Jim mentioned, Christian McCaffrey rushing yards off the board right now. He's missed practice 2 days in a row, calf injury, don't know exactly. And there's no Elijah Mitchell props either because of that, because if he's the primary starter, of course, those yardage totals are going to go up. without giving away any best bets or anything like that, gentlemen, anything here that catches your eye that seems too high or too low to you?
Yeah,
Go
for
first,
sure.
Spencer. That's your domain.
For sure, yeah. I was just coming up with my top plays for my column, which comes out tomorrow morning, and I'll do a little sneak peek here. One I really like, Jalen Hurts under. To me, 250 is too high for Jalen Hurts. Against that 49ers defense. I mean, that's the number one defense in the NFL, and against the Giants, that didn't give me enough confidence. Even though he made some plays, but didn't really have to throw a whole lot. And against that pass rush, I mean, it's going to be tough for him to really get like a high volume, amount of passing yards. So to me, his under is a good value. And then Kittle, I don't see Kittle on there, but we'll probably like his yardage is good. His anytime touchdowns is a good value too, plus 190. I think he does really well this week because whenever Purdy was under pressure, that he started dumping off to Kittle, and I think it'll be more of the same this week.
I liked I didn't see it when I looked last, but there's a Debo combined yardage that I liked, and it's kind of off the board now. But also in my house money, I think Jawan Jennings is going to play a larger role in this because I think that there's going to be so much focus paid on Kittle and even IU to some extent. I think that Purdy's going to have to go through his progressions a little bit more, and I think Jawan Jennings could have a nice day.
Jawan Jennings at 21.5 receiving yards. Debo is off the board. That's, of course, related to the Christian McCaffrey uncertainty. And George Kittle, 47.5 receiving yards is his prop right now. So that does seem awfully low. I'll say this to your point. I'm not saying Jawan Jennings is a bad bet, but if Brock Purdy's having to go through to his third, fourth progression, the Niners are in trouble because that pass rush is going to get home if he's doing that a lot. So we'll see. But I don't know that that's the way the Niners want this game to go. Doesn't mean that it won't, but I'm not sure that's what they want. You're watching Bayou Bets here on bet.nola.com and the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. Do us a favor, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, and we are trying to grow this thing as big as we can. Into the offseason and beyond, we're going to be with you all year round. We're not just a football show, but we are all football all right now, just about. And speaking of football, you can get in on the action if you want to bet. You're a new user to Caesar Sportsbook. All you have to do is register, deposit, and place a $10 bet, a minimum of a $10 bet, and you receive a commemorative poster set. These are posters, not just newspaper pages, but actual posters that you can frame from front pages past when LSU won a national championship, when Joe Burrow won the Heisman, SEC championships, big wins over Alabama, all sorts of different things. You actually get to choose your 3 posters. So a cool promo there. Go to lsuposter.com. And also want to remind everybody, Cashing In with Carville is live for another week on the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. So just click over to the videos that are not live. And that's where we have James Carville every week. He's making his picks. He's leading our Pick'em contest, by the way, by 1 game over me, and I think by 2 or 3 games over Jeff Duncan. So it's coming down to the wire.
Yeah, it's just trying to, after winning last year, if I can finish above 500, I'll be happy.
Yeah, you have the belt right now, but I think you're going to give it up without some big weeks ahead.
Speaking of that, didn't we do 8 picks throughout the whole way last year?
We actually did not. I checked.
Okay.
I checked on that. I don't know about Super Bowl. I still have to check on that. But Conference Championship Week, wanted to keep it consistent. 6 picks.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
So we have both point spreads, both over-unders, and a player prop for each game. So speaking of player props, here are the yardage props and TD props for Bengals-Chiefs. And we talked about these QB yardage totals. They're both climbing up. Earlier in the week, they were like 275, 276. Now we see a 279 and a 281.
Way too high.
It does seem too high to me, especially Burrow's only thrown for over 275 yards 6 times in 17 games this year, or in 18 games, excuse me.
Yeah, I like a lot of unders in this game. The only over that I really like is Pacheco. I think is going to be in this game. I wouldn't bet Kelsey's under, but I don't necessarily know if he's going to go for that many yards because I think he's going to be a big factor in this game. But there's a lot of unders. Passing TDs under 2.5 for Mahomes. I mean, that's a lot of touchdowns, a lot of yards. And we'll get to the totals later. But I know there's some sharps that I listen to love the over in this game. I just think that it's too easy, and I don't think average Joes are going to be betting any unders. So I'm not a big fan of these numbers. In fact, I am a fan because I like a lot of these unders.
I'm with you, Jim, and I guess the cat's out of the bag. That's our disagreement because Spencer likes the over in this game, and I assume you like a lot of the over in these player props too, Spence.
Yeah, I kind of with Burrow. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily recommend playing the over, but I think it's very possible. I do like the Mahomes under though because I'm with Jim on Pacheco. I think Pacheco goes over. I think they run the ball a little more than usual with Mahomes being a little limited, and the over Bengals is T. Higgins. I feel like Jamar Chase 83.5, not a whole lot of value there. I mean, he could get it, but that's one I might lean the under. T. Higgins, though, I know he's been struggling lately, but he's still a very capable receiver. He'd be a number one receiver on most teams. And so we know the Chiefs are going to turn their attention toward Jamar Chase since he's been torching everybody recently. So I'm thinking that'll really open the door for Higgins to have a big day.
Yeah, that might be the only over that I would play on the Bengals. I like that too. If you're going to play one and you don't like playing unders and player props, I agree. I think that T. Higgins could be a nice 57.5 isn't all that much, and especially when they're covering Chase the way they're going to be covering, I could easily see Burrow looking for Higgins quite a bit. I think Mixon's going to have a rough day.
Well, I was just about to say I don't know that Mixon's going to run the ball a lot, but I like his over on receiving yards, which I got at 22.5. It's now 24.5. The first time these teams played, Mixon was hurt, but it was Samaje Perine went for I mentioned this on the fantasy show, 49 yards receiving or something.
Yeah.
That's one way you could beat the Chiefs is dump the ball off to the running back. And so I do think we'll see some of that, especially, listen, the Bengals got away with those offensive line issues last week. They're still there. Like those are still real issues, and they can get away with them in part because Burrow gets rid of the ball so quickly. And in part, look, a pass rush suffers in the snow. Those guys can't get off as fast.
Yeah.
You're not going to have snow this week.
And nobody blitzes more than Steve Spagnuolo.
Yeah, and so I think Burrow will be under some pressure. You're going to see some dump off, some short throws. I'm with you, Jim. I love all the unders here, just about, with the exception of that. And then I kind of like Kelsey. I just can't see betting the under on him because he's such a security blanket. If Mahomes' mobility is an issue, he's the guy that he's going to get all these 7 to 9 yard looks all day long. And you catch about 8 of those and you catch one long one and you're over 76.5. So
I don't know what it is, but I might rather play his over reception number. Because 79 yards, he could easily have 9 catches for 70 yards. So, I mean, I think you're probably better off playing the reception number, which I'm guessing is 7.5.
Let's take a look at that. As you know, again, you try to build a game script in these things, and we'll talk about, we have some parlays put together later also, but that's really how you want to put them together is think, okay, what's my game script and how is it going to, how will that come out in a bet that's going to pay me a nice payoff? Kelsey and see, this is difficult because the total's 6.5, but the over's juiced to minus 184. So you got to pay a pretty big tax.
Is there a way to play an alternate line?
I don't see one.
I know you can on some books. I don't know if you can on Caesars.
Some books that may have that. I don't see one on Caesars.
I'm not playing that for minus 184.
Minus 184. Maybe throw it in the same game parlay, but not.
I mean, I'd rather play 8 over 8.5 or even money. I mean, that's
right.
Ridiculously juiced.
TD prop, Spencer. Anybody catch your eye down there? I've got one, but I'll let you go first.
But Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, he's the best value on that board. Yeah. I know McKinnon's been getting a lot too, but I feel like his are more like kind of like he would get the little dump offs and take them to the house, where Pacheco, if they happen to be right near the goal line, and he'll be the one to get those. So yeah, that to me, he's the best value there. Higgins maybe, but I prefer Higgins over on yards.
I think Pacheco and McKinnon are both going to have good games. I think
maybe bet them both, and whichever one gets the goal line carry, you made money. So they're both plus money. So I'll tell you the name I kind of like, and it sounds weird, but it's one of those, why is this guy so low? and it's Kadarius Toney. Makes me
Yeah.
plus 165. It makes me feel like somebody thinks Kadarius Toney's going to be in the game plan this week.
I couldn't agree with you more because Eli Apple stinks. If he's on Kadarius Toney and that speed, bye-bye.
Man, Eli Apple, just as an aside,
garbage.
He makes one play in that Buffalo-Cincinnati game, which the game was a blowout anyway.
Yeah.
He made one play, and he hasn't shut up since then. It's like 4 days of tweets and trash talk, and we're going to Burrow.
That's all he does.
Like, you'd think the guy's Deion Sanders or in his prime or something. Like, come on, you're Eli Apple, bro. Like,
there's a reason why he's been bouncing.
He's there. C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He's a trash.
Except he's not nearly as good.
Overrated.
He's not any good.
Yeah, that's true.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson's at least an above-average
turnovers.
Exactly.
That's true. Yeah, Eli Apple. I'll tell you what, MVS for DFS purposes, I'll just throw this in real quick. MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling or Mecole Hardman, one of them could end up a bargain because if they both have speed too and they like to go down the field. So I don't know which one, but one of them might pop off. Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
I like that.
Just throwing it out there because they're really cheap, If they're going to lean, maybe probably MVS because Hardman just coming off the injury, his snaps will be limited. So I'd probably recommend Valdez-Scantling.
See, this is why I stick to teasers and lines because we're starting to get to, this guy could do good. This guy could. I mean, but before we know it, we'll bet on 8 of them. 3 of them will hit, and you'll still lose money. I mean,
definitely have to pick your spots
for sure.
No doubt about it. I've
never really been a player prop guy, so. That's why I do like him to the Super Bowl, but even then I'm more of a team kind of guy. Finding different things with teams. So, I mean, but looking at this again, I want to go back to the Mahomes passing TDs. That's a lot of passing TDs, 2.5 touchdowns.
Yes, it is.
Is that? I think I'd go under on that.
And you got to pay minus 160 or something, but to get to 3, that's a lot. That is a lot. Okay, real quick, Max Meyer of Caesar Sportsbook will be here in. Actually, I think he just popped in, so let's join Max. He's here a little bit early. Welcome, Max. Thanks for being here. It's Conference Championship Week. Happy Final Four to you.
Appreciate it, and to you guys as well. And couldn't help but hear the prop discussion. I just looked at all the prop action today and wrote an article on it for Caesar. So if we want to dive into that first, more than happy to.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's. What are some of the most bet props out there for this weekend's games?
So number one for tickets and money is the under for Kadarius Toney receiving yards. Interestingly, we opened this 33.5 and it's up to 35.5, but most of the action has come in 34.5 and 35.5. Most popular over bet is Brock Purdy rushing yards. And this is another one that's actually gone down slightly from the opener, 9.5 to 8.5. But the biggest bet we took at 9.5 was on the under. Patrick Mahomes, there's been really good two-way action for both his completions and his passing yard props. Both the over and the under both rank in top 5 for most popular over and under by handle. His passing yards it's gone up from 272.5 to 281.5. So sharp bettors like the Mahomes over there. And then one that has gotten 100% of the action. So there hasn't been a single under bet on this one. Samaje Perine over receiving yards, which has gone from 13.5 to 15.5. That receiving yards prop flew over last week. Perine's cut into Mixon's playing time a bit down the stretch. I actually really like that one myself, and a lot of bettors do too.
If you got 100% bet on something, I'm going to bet on the other way.
Jim's got to be the one. We did talk a little bit about Mixon's receiving yards as well, are up from 22.5 to 24.5. So very interesting stuff there. Now, how about the sides, Max? And we'll start with the NFC game, the 49ers-Eagles. This one opened, I want to say, at 1.5. It's up to 2.5. And as we mentioned, juice just a little bit toward the Eagles at minus 115. Any chance this hits the 3, or would that take like a Christian McCaffrey being out?
I mean, it already is so close to 3, just because, like you said, it's a juice 2.5. So 3 is definitely within the realm of possibilities. Do I think it closes at 3? No, I think it closes at 2.5. But I wouldn't be surprised if it touches 3, since it's already so close to getting there.
On that note, Max, don't you think that if it got to 3, sharps would just pound the heck out of it and it would stay there for like 30 minutes?
Probably less, to be honest. We with Chiefs Bengals out in Nevada, we actually briefly put that spread up to Bengals -3, and that was there for all of 4 minutes. I mean, there was constant sharp action, and I think it would be the case with 49ers. But interestingly, the biggest bets on the 49ers, so they've gotten 4 six-figure spread bets. One came at 2.5, but 3 of them came with sharper bettors actually buying the point and laying 140 or 145,000 on 49ers plus 3.5 at either -140 or -145. So 3 is a very, at least sharp bettors think it's a very, very key number for this game.
I wish I had that kind of squeeze. Laying 145K to win 100. One of these days, I just want to be able to have that ticket and show that I did that one day. Maybe when I win the WSOP.
Yeah, and this week, just with both spreads under 3, this is going to be a huge teaser week. If you played it right, you could get, you could have gotten Bengals and Chiefs both at over a touchdown.
I did.
If you teased it along with 49ers each time. So definitely going to be a lot of teaser action, I would think, with the spreads this type.
Let's dig in on that Bengals Chiefs. Yeah, and Jim did that, and this has been wild, Max. And I know you're younger, you haven't been doing this forever, but Jim, who has been doing this forever, he's never seen it either.
Come on,
the games jumped to 0 both ways. I suppose it's theoretically possible it could happen again. I mean, maybe unlikely at this point, but have you ever seen a game, much less a big game like this, with this much crazy movement 2 ways?
Well, I guess with lines around pick'em, it's different in the playoffs just because it's a bigger stage. But normally when a line flips from, one team's a 1-point favorite to the other team's a 1-point favorite, it's still basically, the people that are betting it are going to win most of the time. So it's not as big of a move as, say, if the Bengals went from, +1 to -3, just because when it reaches a key number like that, that's a much more significant move. But like you said, the line movement for this one's been pretty crazy. We opened Chiefs 2.5. We did, for all other states besides Nevada, it hasn't reached 3. But like I said before, Nevada, we were up for 4 minutes at 3, and that was immediately hammered down. And then we started seeing big bets at Chiefs 2.5. We got 3 six-figure bets, 2 on the spread at 2.5 and 1 money line. And then the Bengals were down to -1 before Andy Reid said that Patrick Mahomes would practice with the rest of the team. And then once people saw a video of him practicing, more action came, and now the Chiefs are 1-point favorite. Bengals have still gotten majority of the action, though. It's about 78% of the tickets and 62% of the handle for spread. But earlier, like just a couple days ago, the handle number was mid-80s. It was like 84, 85% to the Bengals. So those big bets definitely playing a key part. And it's interesting just because it's actually a similar percentages for the Bengals as it is for the Eagles, who've gotten the majority of the action to cover. And it's the same story. Like the Eagles were mid-80s a couple of days ago, but just with those bigger bets coming in on the 49ers, now it's Eagles 79% ticket, 62% handle.
Hey, Max, has there been much action on the 49ers money line? Because to me, that screams value, being that like before the divisional round, they were the NFC favorites, and now you can get them, at their underdogs, you get them at plus value.
Yeah, so with the 4 teams and money lines, Bengals have twice as many money line bets as any other team. And then 49ers are second, but there's just such a huge gap between Bengals and the rest of the team. So 49ers, just for this game alone, they've gotten majority of the tickets, about 53% of the tickets. But Eagles, they've actually gotten majority of the handle at about like 67% or so. So I'm with you. I actually think the 49ers win this game outright. So I'm glad to take the extra, the extra plus money there. But the Bengals, it's by far Bengals are the most popular money line bet this week.
For sure.
A couple of other markets, Max, the Super Bowl futures market. Again, this is the first, I think ESPN had this stat up, the first time in 45 years that the favorite entering this weekend has not been better than plus 200. Just goes to show you how evenly matched these teams are. I think I saw look-ahead lines are all within a point and a half, no matter what the matchup is. Has there been much action on this market this week?
I honestly, I haven't taken a look at Super Bowl futures action. I know we haven't gotten anything significant, like we haven't gotten any like six-figure bets. But at this point, the prices, they're all pretty even. I just think that a lot of people are just, seeing the spreads and then just, having to rely on and pick one game and are just focused on conference championship versus Super Bowl at this stage. I think with, obviously the value is out the window, just given that we're in conference championship week. So, the people that want to get big bets down, a lot of them, a good amount came at the start of the playoffs or during the regular season. I don't think people are betting that much now.
How about the MVP market? Here's another one. LSU favorite Joe Burrow is the favorite to win the MVP. Obviously, a quarterback. I think I looked at it. 31 of the 56 Super Bowl MVPs have been quarterbacks, so they're more likely to win it than any other player. Have you seen it almost feels like if you want to bet a futures market, you'll get a little more value here.
Yeah, that's definitely a way to look at it. And with Burrow, we took a $10,000 bet on him the other day for Super Bowl MVP. But I know, at least the last time I checked this a couple days ago, the two most popular guys were 49ers, but they weren't Brock Purdy. It was George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey, with bettors thinking, maybe the 49ers the most complete team. Purdy's the worst quarterback of the four. Might as well seek out value. Like I know we got $1,000 bet on Kittle 80-1 at the start of the playoffs. And just given the rapport that Kittle's had with Brock Purdy ever since the rookie's been under center, can't really fault that better there.
No, absolutely not. Anything else of interest this week, Max, as we count down to Final Four weekend?
No, I think I'm good. It's just, it's rare air, like you said, whether it's Super Bowl futures or the fact that since 1990, the last time it happened was 1998, but there hasn't been both conference championships closing under a field goal since then. So it's just historically, it's incredible how even these four teams are, and just looking forward to these two matchups.
I have one interesting question for you. Get your opinion on something, and I kind of asked my cohorts this via text group. So I'm still in a knockout pool. There's 14 people left. Okay, I have it resets when you start the playoffs, so I can take anyone this week I want, except for Kansas City. Okay, so I'm thinking about taking San Francisco because I'm kind of hedging that I think that a lot of other people are going to take Philly, and I want to be left, alone. How big of a risk do you think I'm taking there? What would be your philosophy? What would be your strategy? I could take Cincinnati. I could take Philly. I could take San Francisco.
So, but I'm just trying. So, but if the 49ers win, if you pick the 49ers and they win, and it's a 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl, how would you be able to pick something?
It resets then again if one person has taken both teams and they don't have a pick. It's not like a lot of other knockout pools where you just hosed and you're out. Soft. Hey, it is what it is. I don't care. I played to the advantage of the rules. And so it would so then it would be good if it was San Francisco and Kansas City. I've already taken Kansas City. It would then by rule have to reset. So that I can take whoever I wanted.
Yeah, based off that loophole, then I would go 49ers just because I would think that that's the team that the least amount of people would pick.
That's the way I've been leaning. But so I guess by judging by what you've seen money line and the money that you've been taking in, I mean, you would say that 65-70% of the people out there think Philly's going to win, right?
Yeah. Like I think the Eagles are going to be the most popular pick to win in your pool.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to ask. That's what I thought too.
All right. All sorts of advice on all sorts of things. Max Meyer here from Caesar Sportsbook. Max, let's do it again in a couple weeks.
Sounds good. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks,
All
Max.
right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Max.
All right. That is Max Meyer of Caesar Sportsbook. Always appreciate him dropping by. Just all sorts of great knowledge there.
Let me ask the knockout guru here on the live on the air. I mean, if you were in this situation of what I just laid out, what would you do?
I think that's the move just from a leverage situation, right? You have to, if all four teams are about equally likely to win, like you could say the 49ers are only, 43% to win instead of 47% or whatever. But you want the most leverage, and you can't take Kansas City anyway. So you eliminate them. I think you take the dog you think is going to win.
And I think the interesting situation here is, if I were to take Philly, I really believe, because only 3 people can't take Philly. Okay, so I don't know who they're going to take.
That's another big factor. Yeah.
Only 3 people can't take Philly, and I'm thinking that there's probably going to be, of the 14 people who are left, if 8 or 9 people take Philly. Just the value alone. If I lose, and I'm out. Okay, but if I win, you're talking about a much larger chance of there being a 7, 8, 9-way chop after the Super Bowl, which cuts into what if it's a 14K prize
cuts
pool,
into your profits. Yeah.
So this way, theoretically, I've seen it happen before. I literally might be the only person taking San Francisco, and I could be in an interesting situation Sunday evening.
That's
kind
exactly
of where you are.
That's exactly the situation you want to be in. Horace, interesting thing here, player prop parlay, 3 or 4 props. Stay tuned because we're getting there. It's time to make some picks. I'm going to skip over golf and tennis. Hey, look, you can look them up. Australian Open finals are this weekend. Farmers Insurance Open is crazy today. Look them up if you care. It's conference championship weekend. Okay, I'll go first. Here are my best bets of the weekend. Chiefs Bengals under 47. I'm with you, Jim. Over seems too easy. It's Burrow versus Mahomes. Oh, it's a shootout. Oh, it's going to be 35-34 classic. Maybe. But if that was the case,
about the Bills and Bengals too.
Yeah, why is this number not in the 50s if that's the case? And number 2, I talked about this with Bills and Bengals also. These teams move the ball. They're very efficient. They're not necessarily explosive. They have 6-7 minute drives all the time.
Agreed.
And yeah, they end in scoring, but all it takes is about 2 6-minute drives that end in a field goal, and this thing's going under, unless there's a bunch of turnovers or something else that pushes it, or overtime. But 47's quite a few points for a game where you're going to have some 6-minute field goal drives involved, and 3 and 4 minute drives that end with no points. So I'm going to take the under. I'm also going to take the Chiefs -1 on the spread here. I talked about Kadarius Toney. That number just seems wrong to me, and they are getting him more involved. And so I'm going to lean into it a little bit and take $10 at +165. And then from the other game, all I've got is a 49ers teaser, and I'm taking the total down to 40 and teasing that up as well. I'm a little worried, Jim, because I think you and I agree on a lot this week. So
I think we agree on almost everything this week.
Hopefully that's a good sign, but go ahead.
Well, again, these are my best bets due to what we have right now. So again, I mean, like we talked about earlier in the show, I was lucky enough to I have 2 big teasers, both with the 49ers. And then I had the 49ers paired with the Chiefs and paired with the Bengals, because I got both the Chiefs and the Bengals at +7.5. So, I just, it's, to me, as long as it finishes within a touchdown, and as long as the 49ers don't get blown out, I'm going to win 2 teasers. So these are my bets as of today, because these are the numbers that I have today. And look, I think the 49ers are going to win this game. I think I've said in August that I thought they were the best team in football. I said even after a little slump in October, I thought they were the best team in football. And I certainly think with 12 straight wins, they're the best team in football right now. I know Philadelphia is a tough place to play. I know Jalen Hurts has looked a lot better last week than people thought he would look. But I just don't – I think when you talk about the pressure that he's going to get, it's a completely different ball game. So, I got 2 bets here. The spread for 33 – well, it's actually 31.50. Because you can get them at -105, right? So it's 31.50 to
a little typo there. It's 31.50.
And then you get the money line still at +122. I got a bet on both of those. Spencer and I talked about Isaiah Pacheco. I think he's going to have a great day. And there's a Caesars boost right now, over 69.5 yards and a touchdown, $5 to win $25 at plus 500. And then lastly, we talked about the over and the unders, and it's too easy to bet the under in the San Francisco Philly game, and it's too easy to bet the over in the Cincinnati Kansas City game. So give me a little parlay action. I think it's going to be the opposite of what everybody thinks because it's just too easy.
I don't feel nearly confident enough about those to parlay them, but more power to you. I hope you're right.
I'm putting a lot on it.
Now, let's take a look at this here. Jim's got $1,078. We've only got a couple weeks left. I don't next week maybe we can do some basketball games or something, but otherwise we've just got the Super Bowl left. So 1,078. Spencer's at 1,106. So you have a $28 lead, Spencer. And I got to have you explain these to me because you're threading the needle on some of this stuff. You've got teasers going one way, but money lines going the other way. And you got to talk me through this here, Guru.
All right, yeah. So I'll talk y'all through it because it is kind of walking a tightrope with some of these, but part of it is the one I feel most confident about is this teaser, and then I tease it to where it's the under in 49ers Eagles, but it's at 52, and then over for Chiefs Bengals, but at 41. I feel like tease down those are really good values because at the current totals, I'm like I was torn on what to do, so that's why I teased them. To me, with the teaser, I feel confident in playing the total there. And then for the spread teaser here, we got the Chiefs +6, Eagles +3.5. I think they keep the games close, but I think at the end of the day, the 49ers and Bengals get the dubs. And so that's why I got those on the money line.
I'm going to interject here real quick. I'm not saying I don't think that teaser is going to hit because it very well could. But when you start teasing over unders, you're playing with fire, and a sharp will never, ever, ever tease a total. They'll never have a total involved in their teaser ever.
Yeah, teasing totals is tricky because once it gets away from you, it gets away from you. Whereas a point spread, you have a little more back and forth. The one time that I'll do it is the way I did it, where you have the side and a total in the same game. So you say, if it's going to be this type of game, I like this team.
Yeah. Again, I'm not saying that teaser's not going to hit. I don't necessarily disagree with what you put up there. I guess you're basically betting two alternate spreads and putting them together. But I know this sounds crazy, but we saw Bengals-Bills 27-10 last week. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout, but I think there is going to be a blowout. I think the Chiefs could win by a similar score. Like a 27-10. I don't think both of the history tells us that as close as these spreads are, that's great. But history tells us that both of these games aren't going to be close. One of them's not going to be close. And if I had to lean to which one I thought wasn't going to be close, I would say it's Bengals-Chiefs. I think the Bengals could lay an egg on Sunday. I really do. I hope they don't because I have a big future on the Bengals, both to win the conference and the Super Bowl. So I hope it's a tight game. I have a future on Kansas City too, but that doesn't pay nearly as much. But if there's going to be a blowout this week, and I really think it could be Kansas City over the Bengals because Mahomes is about getting tired of A, the Bengals beating him, and B, the fact that people are talking about how he's not going to beat Mahomes this week. Andy Reid is going to outcoach Zach Taylor all over the field this weekend, and that would worry me if I was a Bengals fan. But who dats or who days this week, and they don't want to hear that either.
Right. I mean, I could see it if the Chiefs had a better defense, but when is the Chiefs defense going in?
They played much better as of late. They played much better as of late.
That's the thing that concerns me there, but we'll see.
There is another way, by the way, looking at Spencer's best bets, and this, the way he set it up is maybe less risk. Because you're likely to win at least one of those, either the teaser or the money line bets. But if you really think, okay, the Niners are going to win this game, but it's only going to be by less than 3 points, there are bets out there. Go bet the Niners to win between 1 and 3 points, and you get like 5-1 for that. And so if you really think that's the way it's going to end up, you can really boost your odds that way. So speaking of boosted odds, and Mr. Urquhart asked this question too, player prop parlays. We put together some that we're calling our house money parlays. The advocate's paying for these bets, by the way, but we get to keep the winnings. So, Spencer, tell us what you got. We're going to cover up Jim's face there.
That's okay.
I got a couple SGPs here. I got my AFC one, going go in with Bengals money line. I think they get it done. I think Mahomes' ankle it flares up at some point. And then we talked about T. Higgins, got the over on his yardage. Jamar Chase, I don't know if Chase will get quite as many yards as usual, but I do think he'll score a touchdown. So I got him there at the score a touchdown. And then, of course, under on Mahomes because I'm just not confident that he'll have enough time to rest that ankle. I think it could end up an issue.
All right, player prop number 2. Or excuse me, same game parlay number 2 for Spencer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, here you got a Kenneth Gainwell is one. I meant to ask Max about this, but this number just seems extremely low, 10.5. I know he's the backup to Miles Sanders, but he was getting more involved there against the Giants.
I like that.
So I'm thinking, I think that's a good value. I could have included that in the column because that's just like so low. And then Miles Sanders, I think, is under because of that 49ers elite run defense. I don't see him busting any long runs. Christian McCaffrey, I know he's off the board now, but assuming he plays, I definitely think he finds the end zone. And then 49ers money line to cap it off because I'm a little concerned about Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and if he does not play, I believe that would push down because bets on him become void. But we do think McCaffrey's going to play. Okay, here's my same game parlay. This pays 13-1, so $20 pays out 280. I talked about a couple of these. Mixon over, but Burrow under. One reason this pays so much is because I kind of have competing interests here. I think Burrow's going to be under fire. I think he's going to dump the ball off. I don't think he's going to throw for a bunch of yards. I talked about the under. I've got the under 46.5. Actually, I think when I bet this, the total's gone up since then. I got 46.5. And then I also have Kelsey over. So kind of threading a needle here, but that's why it pays so well at 13-1. If I can get Kelsey to have a good day and Burrow to throw to Mixon, but everything else is kind of low scoring, that could certainly cash up. And now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make, let's see, Jim is going to move over there so that he can talk about his parlay.
I'm not a fan of doing all these mixing and matching things. First of all, my main thing is I think the 49ers are going to win. So I knew I was putting that in there at plus 122, and I just had to pick one more. And I talked about Juwan Jennings to get this in a parlay. Our rules are the odds have to be higher than plus 400. Here we go. So I only need 2 things to happen. I need the 49ers to win. I need Juwan Jennings to have more than 2 catches. I like my odds there. I think that's great value in that spot.
Jim Derry, if the 49ers win, you're going to have a very happy Sunday.
I am going to have a super if the 49ers and Bengals win. I know I got a lot, talking about the Chiefs because that's what I think is going to happen. But if the 49ers and Bengals win and meet in the Super Bowl for the 3rd time in NFL history, there's going to be a party in Mandeville.
All right.
And I'll be there because I'll be stoked
too. You can come, and I'll have po' boys, and you can bring Horace to the party. Kyle has to.
It's going to be a good season for all of us here if things break right. So, all right, that's that for us, and we'll be back Monday to wrap up the weekend and talk about a Super Bowl matchup with a Super Bowl line. It's that time of year. So Monday at 4:00, Bayou Bets. Jim, you've got Datitude tomorrow morning with Jeff Duncan as well.
Yep. Live Datitude tomorrow morning at 9:15, as we always do on all these same channels. And it's not going to just be NFC Championship, AFC Championship. We're going to talk about Sean Payton. And we're going to talk probably a little, not as much about the Saints as we have. I mean, you can only drag Pete Carmichael through the mud so many times. So it's going to be quite a bit about Sean Payton. And I think everything that Dunk and I have been saying for the past 3 weeks, we never even mentioned it today about Sean Payton not coaching in 2023. Looks like it's coming to fruition. So we'll talk about that in the morning. Again, 9:15. And if you don't catch it live on these channels, you can catch Datitude wherever you get your podcast. It's there. Search Datitude.
Be there and check out what Jim and Jeff have to say. Sean Payton interviewed with the Cardinals today. And I know, Jim, you've said the whole time no way he's going to Arizona. And that really looks like that's the only choice left. So if that's the case, he's not coaching next year.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
So that's where we're at. And by the way, my son won a Super Bowl with the Saints with Madden today. He was homesick from school.
Congratulations.
And
you beat James.
It was against the Steelers. And this is like 2 or 3 years in the future. They had Jameis Winston quarterbacking the Steelers. And his first drop back, he throws it directly to the middle linebacker for a pick. I I just could not help but laugh.
But I bet even in Madden, had the Steelers used Andy Dalton as their quarterback, they wouldn't have made it there.
Feast or famine, baby. All right. That'll do it for us, Bayou Bets. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, share with your friends, subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel, and we will see you Monday at 4 o'clock.